Welcome to this next episode of the BeLoved Miracles Couples Project. Today we are reaching from Norway to Atlanta, Georgia, USA. Hello, Tracey.
Hi, how are you?
Doing really well. Bridging nighttime to daytime. What hour of the day is it there, actually?
It is about 1:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. So we're in the beautiful middle of the afternoon.
Fantastic. Let me do a brief introduction of you. The name Tracey Walker in many circles needs no introduction. She's a respected entrepreneur, published author, and a leading network marketing consultant. With numerous notables in her career, it was in 2011 Tracey teamed up with David Wood in the launching of Empower Network. And after just 27 months, she crossed over the $1 million mark in commissions. Doing so, she became the first woman and the 7th overall affiliate to become part of the elite Millionaires Club with the company. So Tracey, where does your story begin?
Oh man, well first let me just say thank you so much for having me on this afternoon. And my internet journey has been quite fascinating. And I would say that it started for me, you can always pick a certain point, but then there's a point before that you could say, oh, but it really started there, right? So it never ends. I guess it started when I was born at the end of the day. That's probably it. But in real life, I would say, when my real estate business, I had a real estate investment company that I ran, me and my ex-husband back in 2003. Through 2006. And when the market actually went through a bit of a crash, especially here in the States, I'm not sure how things were affected over there where you are in Norway, but my home went into foreclosure. I mean, pretty much we lost everything essentially. And we were on the verge of losing everything. And I won't, bore people with all those gory details, but the bottom line was that, I'd already walked away from corporate America in 2002 when I was laid off. And I had this business that did really well. I mean, we did like 90 grand a month, $90,000 US dollars a month for a couple years and really increased our lifestyle. And we were only probably about 30 years old, 31 at that time. And so life was really good. And when the market came crashing down, I needed something and wanted something that I could get into that did not revolve around going back to get a job or anything like that. I had been free for several years at that point. I didn't see that as being a viable option for me. And I was introduced to network marketing in January of 2007 by a fellow real estate colleague of mine. And so I did offline network marketing for about a year. And then in 2008 is when I really got online. And my whole purpose for getting online was to find out ways that I could leverage myself. I was so tired of going to home parties or hotel events and things like that, where, the expected number of attendees was, minimal, right? And it was disheartening sometimes. Sometimes it was great. I mean, I don't want to give the impression that every time I did something, it was like that. It wasn't. We had a really good run, a really good team. But in the winters in Chicago, which is where I'm originally from, it's not so nice to have to take 30, 40 minutes to get yourself together, to throw on boots, to put on a snowsuit, to get to somebody's house, driving 1 mile an hour on an icy street, to then get there and it's like one person sitting there, right? That was one of the most aggravating things for me in my life. And that's what I wanted to find leverage for when I got on the internet. How could I do videos? How could I just say the presentation? And then if someone had a guest, they could just take my video and show it to them and I didn't have to drive to them. That's what I wanted. And I wanted to be in the house working from home. We say a work from home business, but I was never at home, right? So with that being said, after about a year or two of doing that, I started learning different processes and different terminology and starting to really engage myself in the world of internet marketing in an effort to help me build a network marketing business. And then in 2011, as you mentioned earlier, actually 2009, I came across David Wood. We were both in a particular system at that time, and we were both leaders in that company, and were on the leadership council. And we communicated from time to time. We were not all day, every day. But obviously we hung out, and obviously we went to different events, and we did videos, and we did things like that together. And then he launched Empower Network in 2011, brought it to my attention, and I jumped on board. And I'm very grateful that I did. So that's really where my story in terms of the internet comes into play, and what even prompted me to get started here.
Fantastic. So that's really where a system gets its wheels rolling, it sounds like, as well. And then could you share like what changed? Because you've got all this business experience and success previously. You knew how to do network marketing the old school way, and you were successful at that. But now it sounds like systems.
Right.
Some guy named Dave Wood, who is like a master of systems, enters the scene. What began to change at that point, Tracey?
Well, what began that I'm here.
Great. I can hear you now.
Okay, I can hear you clearly. Well, what began to change was really the amount of results I was beginning to see, increasingly, not just for myself, but for people that were part of my organization. To me, that was the major catalyst. Is, you know, I always believe that I'm going to be successful because that's just how I believe in myself. But when working with other people, others don't always believe that just yet. There's work that they need to do. And as their team leader and things like that, it's, we have to encourage and inspire our teams to step into their greatness and do things like that. And when being able to plug into a system that actually duplicated results for people, that was when everything changed for me. And I realized that, hey, you know what? You don't have to be a superhero in order to do this stuff. You just have to be able to plug into something that actually works systematically, and then follow the steps that are outlined consistently. And that was a major turning point for me.
Brilliant. And I love what you said as well, right? Which is that we really know we have something, don't we? When we can give it away and someone else can receive it. And as you said,
Right.
Implement it and have success with it. That's almost the ultimate proof that we actually have something to give, isn't it?
Right. Absolutely. Totally.
Nice. So now you're seeing things change more so for you. It sounds like you were able to do more with less, right? Because systems were implementing, and then
Right.
this is duplicating now. So in many ways, it sounds like that was maybe some of the explosive success that you had, right? Was that now numerous other people had an opportunity to share in that success that you knew how to hammer out, but now they could join you more as a community, right? As a team in achieving these levels of success together.
Absolutely. I mean, but that's what the whole point of really network marketing is, right? It's building leverage, it's building organizations, and it's helping people to help people, right? And you do that through a number of different ways. We do it through personal development. We do it maybe through the types of products and services that we offer. Maybe some people are more on the health and wellness side. Some people are more on the business opportunity side. Some people might be on the nutritional or whatever, skincare, technology, whatever it is. We want to help people to save time, or save time and money. We want to help them to lose weight and feel great. We want to help people to make more money and, break away from that job. And we can only do that through networks of people where, well, not that we can only do that, but in network marketing, the principle is that we do that through helping as many people as we can within an organization to get, the results that they want in their life. And for some people, it's going to be large numbers. For others, it's going to be more smaller numbers. But nonetheless, as the leader, as you're helping to groom and mold these people, you do get paid, or you get rewarded handsomely for your ability to honor that organization and to serve them in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, as you know, our audience is primarily couples building together. What advice would you offer from your rich experience toward couples implementing systems and building together, as we're discussing here, with systems?
Yeah, when I'm single now, I am in a relationship that, well, I'm single in the sense that I'm not married, right? But I am in a relationship, and my guy, he's a business owner as well, right? So for one, let me just say that we married, And so I have it from two different perspectives. I have it from a standpoint of being married and building a business, and building that business together from scratch. And then I have it from the perspective of meeting someone who already has a business, and now where you're kind of merging your two lives together. I married my high school sweetheart. So, we knew each other since we were like 13, 14 years old. And so when we built that real estate business, one of the things that was extremely useful, and I would say just, I don't know, a blessing, was we were on the same page in terms of what we wanted to accomplish and what goals we wanted to attain. And that helped us so well because the momentum would build faster because we were going in the same direction. Now, the crash that happened didn't have anything to do with us per se, other than the fact that it did cause us to argue more, right, and fight more, because we're like, hey, what do we got to do? And the money's not right, and we're facing losing our house, and the car's in repossession, and all these different things. And so the dynamic of the relationship began to take a toll because of the finances or the lack of finances. And I had to learn a lot through that process, and I'm almost certain that he did too. But essentially, the point that I want to drive home is that if you can get on the same page with your spouse about your goals, your dreams, your outcomes, your intentions, your purpose for why you are building the business that you're building together, you can go a lot further and a lot faster. There's a saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go together. And so for the couples out there, I would say, do your best to work together as in sync as you possibly can, while simultaneously being able to delegate roles and responsibilities to one another, so that there is a constant state of accountability where you're not just looking at each other and I thought you were going to do that, and you're getting mad, and you're expecting things, you're making assumptions. Setting clear roles and responsibilities, so that both parties know exactly what the other party is responsible for and what they're doing, and how they're contributing, and then how they are contributing to the overall teamwork, I think would be one of the most important things that I couple, because that helped me to build a real estate company, that otherwise I don't think I would have been able to do if my husband at that time were not on board. So that would be my word of advice for couples on that end.
Brilliant. Yeah. And those are the words for me. Together we overcome. There's something that we can do as two or more that, as you say, we can accomplish things quickly on our own, yet there's something of the roots, the deep rooted longevity that is missing without it is a little slower to start, isn't it? We have to court, we have to communicate. I'm in a cross-cultural marriage, so there are dynamics I had no idea of, like the simplest things, like a word, and having the same understanding of the simplest little word, and it'll never happen because our childhood and our history is not anchored in the same garden. So together we overcome. And I hear that not only in a union, right, in a marriage, as you did with your ex-husband at the time in the real estate business, but I hear it, and I've seen it in your trainings as well, the way you extend it, Tracey, to your team and really anyone who wishes to plug in and together with you share a, what's the word? It's like a, right, when two come together, it's easy to think 1 + 1 = 2, right, and do this simplistic mathematics. But I've learned in my experience it doesn't. Actually, 1 + 1 = 1. It equals something that's not
right
one or the other, right? Could you say anything about that in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And really fast, it's funny that you talk about, or you mentioned that you're in a multi, or did you say a transcultural?
Cross. I often refer to it as a cross-cultural because they just don't meet. As much as we want to, it's usually crossing in some way.
Yeah. I'm in a based on your term, I'm in a cross-cultural relationship right now, right? So like my boyfriend, he lives over in Israel, right? And he was born and raised there. And so there's just so many different things that we have to communicate about, just to have the same meeting of the minds, right? Just because, like you said, we're just rooted differently. However, when it comes to business, amazingly, we study the same types of thought leaders, right? We understand the same tools and um, the way that you build businesses and networking and leveraging other people. So although um, our personal backgrounds and maybe even spiritual or religious, I would say, are different, the business amazingly is like a universal language that allows us to communicate in ways that drives our relationship um, further, right? It's one of those bonds there. Um, and so I think that no matter what the relationship is, you have to find that common thread, right? That would be the key, that you find that common thread. And although I'm working with a lot of different people from different places, that wouldn't be like in a personal relationship with me, like a husband or a wife, but the relationships that I'm building with people in my organization or within a company or within other companies, right? That we might look at it in a more competitive perspective, but I kind of look at it in a collaborative way. They're in different companies, but we're still serving the same need essentially in the marketplace for people, which is essentially to be free and to have control of their own financial economies, which I'm a big advocate for. I'm a big proponent for that. I think that that language of business allows all of us, personal or business, to be able to meet together on a common ground and say, okay, what are things that we have in what are things that we have that are more alike than different, and how can we build on that? And the things that are different, are they at least um, can we agree that we're different enough without having the desire or the need to want to change the other person in such a way that it takes them completely out of their personal identity? Now, of course, we're going to always change each other because we're constantly changing, right? And hopefully, whoever we're spending our time with the most, our significant others, our loved ones, our spouses, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, whatever, that they're lifting us up, changing us for the worst. We always want someone's going to help change us for the better. And then what happens is that the differences still, they're still there, but they do not become the focal point of everything. They become just, they are what they are. But the focal point becomes more the similarities and how we can work together as the, 1 + 1 = 1. And so I totally agree with that perspective. And I guess I would just hope for people to realize that, if you have a significant other who doesn't believe, I know that's a big thing sometimes, like, well, my spouse isn't being as supportive, or they don't believe in this type of business and things like that. You're not, this is my opinion, you're not going to convince them to be all excited and jumping for joy and ecstatic just because you are. What makes or what encourages someone to change, I would say in this environment, in the dynamic of one person not being fully on board, is your results. Right? If you ever want someone to really get on board with you in reference to building a network marketing business or an internet marketing business, and it's so non-conventional, the best way to do that is to go out there and make your monthly income from your job in your business, right? And you can manage that. I promise you, their brain is going to start clicking and ticking, and those synapses are going to start firing off. And they might have their arms crossed in the back of the room at the event like this at first, but eventually they'll loosen up, their guards will come down, and they will be forced to deal with the reality that, dang, I didn't believe it, but honey, you stuck to your guns, right? Against everything, and you led with your vision to such a point that you didn't give up and you made this thing happen. And I've seen it time and time again where, at the beginning of a journey, the spouse wasn't on board, and the other spouse, who was gung ho, stuck with it, had to deal with it. Of course, there were tough times at home and tears and fighting and this and that. And when they actually produced results, it's like a miracle presented itself, right, amongst this couple. So I do know it's possible. I've witnessed it. I do know that you can overcome that if you truly believe. Don't just do the business because it's something to do. Do it because you believe in it, and do it because you believe that it's actually going to help people, including yourself and your family. And then give it all you got, and have some empathy. Understand that your spouse is really there to protect you, right? They're scared, they're nervous, they don't want you to go out there and harm yourself. So that's what their intent is to harm you from failure, right? But this entrepreneurial brain that we have sometimes, that energy is like, I'm going to take that leap of faith. I don't care about failure, right? And so the safety net is what the spouse really is holding on to more than anything. So I know that was a long-winded. Hopefully you get what I was trying to say.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question. And your long-windedness can continue, because there's a richness to it that comes clearly from your personal experience. And I can hear also the experience you've had with others, right? As we touched earlier, it's one thing to have something ourselves, but giving it away in a way that others can receive it and implement it, this is a whole nother game. And that's clearly the game you play. So no, don't hesitate to be long-winded. I mentioned two things. You really really something nicely about fast compared to further, right? This different depth. And I heard that in everything you just said. So I just wanted to echo that. There's a dance, isn't there, Tracey? 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Also the dance between love and logistics in a partnership, and especially in a marriage. And I've certainly learned from my own experience, they are not the same thing. It's great to have love. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world. But just working together, logistics, communicating, understanding each other, as you said, collaborating rather than competing. This seems to be so key in what I heard and in what you said. Any final additional nuggets of gold, diamonds that you'd squeeze from the coals of couples building together?
Yeah, I would say, take time. Remember, like, when I was married, we didn't do this much, that much of it. And so moving forward in a new relationship, with someone who's driven entrepreneurially as I am, what I know to do now is, and what I encourage everybody to do, is to remember to take time for each other. Even though you may be working together. One of the mistakes that me and my ex-husband made was that we worked together, we lived together. That was, of course, the situation. But once we were done working, we looked at each other like, but I've seen you all day. Right? Go do something else. I don't feel like looking at your face right now. Like, I've seen you from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock this evening or whatever. Right? And so now that it's time to decompress or hang out or relax, watch some TV or go watch the game, we didn't do a lot of that together. Right? Which we thought initially, the thinking was that we needed that time apart, which is true, but we didn't know how to circle back around to recognize that we still needed personal time together too. And so what happened is that we spent 95% of our time in business, and virtually, no percent of our time in working on our relationship. And every time that we would talk, we loved talking to each other, but we were always talking about business. To a point where it's like, man, we're great friends, we love each other, it's awesome, but romantic side of things, and maybe it could be there, but I don't know, we just talk about business so much. And so we found ourselves moving apart romantically, together business wise. And so as I transition into a different type of relationship, I'd rather not do that again. Right? I'd rather keep the business relationship. I still want to nurture the personal relationship and date nights and, spending time together and hanging out and being lovey-dovey if we want to, or whatever, just laying on the couch, just looking at each other, mad, whatever, right? But doing it together. I want to encourage everybody to embrace both sides of that, and don't let one side dominate you so much that you lose on the other side. When if you can find that sweet spot, which may take a little of a dance, right? A little bit of a dance, a little tango to get it, you can really have the best of both worlds. And that's really what I'm after this time around too. And that experience helps, so I'm excited about that. And I just want everybody else to realize that I believe it can be done, right? I'm a work in progress too, but business and personal, don't let one dominate the other, and remember to love each other on both sides of that coin.
Right, right. So if love and logistics were the two things, the two ones trying to come together, that there is a way. I hear that. I hear the belief in you. I hear the faith in you, the trust, the hope. I hear a lot, and it's such a rich, precious place you're at right now with your own relationship. You know, it's like a seed, isn't it? A seed is the best analogy I have in my experience, and it just needs the right environment. And then that miracle, as you mentioned, that beloved miracle has a chance to sprout, take root, and somehow through the nurturing, as you've just touched upon, and this idea that together we can overcome, being united, collaborating, dancing the dance, tango, I agree, is a fantastic analogy for how this can be done to the music.
Yeah.
Tracey Walker, I hope we get to do this again sometime soon, and you'll share more of what's evolving for you. You know, thank you, number one, for sharing your garden and what's growing in it currently. And I hope that sometime in the future, does that seem possible? We could touch in again and maybe go a little deeper into these areas of how we can support couples building together.
Yeah, I would love to. And maybe we can do something where, you know, I can have my boyfriend on and we can kind of talk about it together. If you're open to that, because then that would be a great way for people to see exactly what we're talking about. You know, I mean, like you said, we're cross-cultural. We're both still Black, right? But he's from Israel and I'm from here. So, I mean, from a racial perspective, it's the same. But I mean, still, we grew up different. Yet we think so much alike when it comes to business that we literally don't ever get tired of talking about it. But I've recognized that that shouldn't be the only thing, and we make sure that we take time for ourselves as well. And so I think he would love to, because he could share more about his business and what he's doing and what he thinks. So I'd be happy to do that if you want.
Oh, fantastic. We will do that. Like as soon as you and he are ready, I will clear the schedule. We'll make that a top priority, because we've touched upon such a richness here, Tracey, and your willingness to be sharing it, to be even vulnerable, you know, to be somewhat exposed in your personal life. I mean, many of the couples that I approach to do this, it's an uncomfortable place. We're not well prepared to be asked these questions in such a public way. And it takes a tremendous amount of trust. So thank you for your trust in me. Thank you for taking the time right now. And if your man there in Israel would join us and share the other side of this dance that you're dancing together, oh, I think we can inspire so many couples.
Yeah.
So
we'll be excited.
Fantastic. I look forward to that. So for now, I'll be saying goodbye from Norway, and thank you so much, Tracey.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.